Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. This is a very important chapter because it helps us understand how the subtle laws are working in material nature. You see the setting here. Kashyapa Rishi is sitting in trance after offering oblations to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu. He's a Rishi, he's a sage. He's engaged in spiritual activity. And it is said here, he was sitting in trance. Trance means he was completely absorbed in that spiritual activity. In such a situation, in that place where he was engaged in performing sacrifice, offering oblations, sitting in trance, absorbed in the thought of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, who is the enjoyer of all sacrifices, to whom he has offered oblations. In that place, the beautiful Diti, she is not ugly looking, she is very, very beautiful. She expressed her desire. What did she say? O learned one, Vidwan. Vidwan. Vidwan means you are very learned. He is learned in the Vedas. Because he is learned, he is performing sacrifice. He is sitting in trance. She is telling, Cupid is taking his arrows and distressing me forcibly. Kamadeva. Kamadeva is the demigod in charge of exciting desire for sex. Now, why should this Kamadeva do that? He should have some better work, no? He's a Devata, he's a demigod. Why should he do this? What do you think, Vijay Raghava? Why should Kamadeva do this? He's a demigod, he's not a demon. Why should he excite sex desire? Because sex life is required. For what? For begetting good children. For begetting good progeny. Sex life is required. So, Kamadeva is doing his duty. He is doing his duty. So it is being said here, Diti is telling her husband, Kashyapa, Cupid is taking his arrows and distressing me forcibly. That means very strong sex desire is awakened in Diti's heart. And she's describing it is so strong that it cannot wait. So that's not the time when he's engaged in offering oblation, sitting in trance, the sun is setting. The previous verse described. No, this verse. Yeah, previous verse. The sun was setting. It's Sandhya Kala. Sandhya Kala is the time for spiritual activity. Anybody in the Vedic culture knows this. So she knows this is not the right time to approach her husband. Sandhya Kala, Sayam Sandhya. But still, why is she approaching her husband at this time? Because Cupid is taking his arrows and distressing me forcibly. As a mad elephant troubles a banana tree. When an elephant becomes mad, it is almost impossible to control that elephant. So such a mad elephant, if it gets a banana tree is so very delicate in front of an elephant. Other trees, elephant cannot easily uproot. Banana tree, the stem, the leaves, the fruits, everything is not very strongly rooted in the ground. Can easily be uprooted by an elephant. Elephant is very strong. And not just an elephant here, it's described Matangajaha. Mad elephant. Mad elephant troubles a banana tree. It's going to almost destroy the tree. Similarly, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, this Vaishnava Aparad is like a mad elephant entering a beautiful, nicely tended garden. What it will do? Destroy the whole garden. Similarly, Vaishnava Aparad, it destroys our Bhakti Lata, the creeper of devotion, devotional service. So if you want to protect your devotional creeper, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu compares this development of bhakti to sowing a seed, and that seed sprouts and a nice plant or creeper begins to grow. Now, especially when it is tender, any plant has to be protected. It may grow up to become a very strong tree, like a banyan tree or a mango tree or a jackfruit tree. But when it is just sprouting from a seed, everything begins with a seed. All plants. So when it is sprouting from a seed, it is so very tender. Especially this banyan seed. It is like a small pinhead. That seed is so small. Imagine that sprouting. That seed sprouting. You won't even see that sprout in the beginning. You can't even see that. So it has to be protected. Similarly, Bhakti Lata has to be protected. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives that comparison and explains to us how we have to, first of all, sow the seed. So what does he compare sowing the seed to? Quick. Whoever knows the answer. Satyajit Gauranga, tell me quickly. What is actually what we have to do if we have to sow that seed in our heart of Bhakti Lata? Huh? Shravanam? No. Approach a spiritual master and take initiation from him. Take initiation from him. This is the process of sowing the seed of Bhakti Lata in our heart. Then, what has to be done next? Water that seed. And what is this watering compared to? Chanting and hearing the holy name, the pastimes, the activities of the Supreme Lord. The Shravanam Kirtanam, Vishnu, is the act of pouring water and supplying nourishment for this Bhakti Lata. Then, to protect it against some animal may just come and trample and destroy the whole creeper. So you should fence. Like you've seen, here they planted something, of course it never grew because they didn't water it properly. But they put fence around it. Oh, they did not put fence, I think, here. I don't remember. Something they planted and they didn't fence it. You have to fence it. So what is that fencing compared to? Avoiding? Avoiding Vaishnava offense, no? Huh? What is that? Asatsanga tyag. That is not fencing, that's not meaning of fencing. Remaining in the association of devotees. The association of devotees is like a fence. If you leave the association of devotees, you don't have protection. So when you are in the association of devotees, chanting, hearing, practicing, following, then you are having protection. That's why we tell, don't leave the temple. Somebody has joined the temple for devotional service. Because the person is, if he leaves the temple, he is losing the protection. He is losing the protection, which is easily available. Default available in the temple. When you stay in the association of devotees. Default available. Like this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu compares the development of bhakti to the growth of this Bhakti Lata. Here, the comparison is, just like a mad elephant troubles a banana tree, similarly, Cupid is taking his arrows and distressing me forcibly. That means she is afflicted by sex desire. And she cannot wait. She cannot wait. So the next verse describes why she cannot wait. Because she is distressed. Now what is happening? Therefore, you should be kind towards me by showing me complete mercy. You should be kind towards me by showing me complete mercy. I desire to have sons. Now, what is the need for her to fulfill this desire that has arisen? Because she desires to have sons. And she is telling also, I am much distressed by seeing the opulence of my co-wives. Kashyapa Rishi or Muni, he had many wives. Particularly, he had many wives because he is a Prajapati. That means he is meant to increase the population at the beginning of creation. Brahma is meant to create progeny. So Brahma creates progeny first of all by having Prajapatis. He actually begets children as Prajapatis. Now Brahma is alone in the beginning. So from different parts of his body, with his power, mystic power, he is able to generate offspring. He is able to generate offspring from his mind, from his hands, from his legs. He is generating different offspring, sons. And even he once begot a daughter, Swayambhuva Manu and Shatarupa, his son and daughter. He begot for what purpose? To generate human beings, human population. Swayambhuva Manu and Shatarupa. So they had how many sons? 2 sons. And how many daughters? 3 daughters. 3 daughters. So that way the progeny will multiply. The sons will marry, the daughters will marry, and they will have children. Those children will grow up, they will marry, they will have children. Like that the population will increase. So Kashyapa is a Prajapati. He is meant for increasing the population. And therefore he has many wives. So this Diti and her sisters, who are daughters of Daksha, they have married Kashyapa. And Kashyapa is meant to increase the population. Therefore, Kashyapa should have sons, should beget sons through his wives, and in this way increase the population. So she is also desiring to have sons because her co-wives, who are also wives of Kashyapa, are already having sons. And she is also telling, by performing this act, you will become happy. Why Kashyapa will become happy? Because Kashyapa is meant to increase the population. He'll be fulfilling his duty, completing his duty. So these are all the various reasons Diti is expressing. She is speaking very loudly, not attempting to attract him by bodily expressions. She is beautiful, but she is not attempting to attract him by bodily expression. She is just speaking loudly. Now Prabhupada says in this purport, in the previous purport, that 10th verse purport, it says, it was the prime duty of her husband to give her all protection by fulfilling her desire. What does it mean? Her desire is legitimate. And such a desire can be fulfilled by her husband and nobody else. So it was the prime duty of her husband to give her all protection. How does he protect her? By fulfilling her desire. If her sex desire is not satisfied by her husband, she has to seek some other man to fulfill her desire. You see? Which is not proper for a chaste woman. Therefore, it is the husband's prime duty to fulfill her desire and thereby give her protection. So, Prabhupada, in the next purport, the 11th verse purport says, in Bhagavad Gita, sexual intercourse for begetting children is accepted as righteous. So, Diti wants to have children, therefore she is approaching her husband, and therefore she is righteous. She is righteous. A person sexually inclined for simple sense gratification is not righteous. Simply if I want to enjoy sex life, no. That is not according to dharma. That is adharma, unrighteous. So, sex enjoyment for a sex life for any other purpose other than begetting children is sinful. This is considered as a very, very difficult principle to follow by the modern generation. When we are told no illicit sex, it means no sex life except for begetting children. What kind of children? Prabhupada explains in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Dharma aviruddha bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarishabha. Which is the verse? 7.11. Raghav Sharan, read the verse, full verse. Kama raga vivarjitam. Translation.
I am the strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desire. I am sex life, which is not contrary to religious principles. O Lord of Bharata.
I am sex life which is not contrary to religious principles. So religious principles state that sex life is meant for begetting good children, Krishna conscious children. Any other purpose, sex life is against religious principles. It is sinful. It is sinful. When somebody violates the scriptural principles, they are acting sinfully. This is another simple definition of sin. Sometimes people think sin means something which is bad. Now this bad, what is considered bad by some people may not be considered bad by somebody else. These Christians sometimes say, you Hindus, you consider meat eating as bad. We don't consider meat eating as bad. So, definition of what is sin. What is the definition? Anybody who violates the scriptural injunctions is acting sinfully. So very simple definition. That is what Krishna is telling. Dharma aviruddha. Dharma viruddha and dharma aviruddha. Dharma viruddha means against dharma, against scriptural injunctions, against the Vedas, against the principles of dharma. That is dharma viruddha. And there is another way of following dharma. Dharma aviruddha. Such sex life, dharma aviruddha bhuteshu kamosmi. Everybody has got sex desire. But such sex desire utilized for begetting good children is representation of Krishna. What kind of representation? What kind of representation is it? Impersonal representation. The series of verses beginning with the 8th verse up to the 11th verse. 8, 9, 10, 11. 8, 9, 10, 11. 4 verses describe how Krishna is present in this world in his impersonal feature, Brahman feature. So, the impersonal feature of Krishna begins with Rasoham Apsu Kaunteya, I am the taste of water. Prabhasmi Shashisuryayo, I am sunshine and moonshine. So when Krishna says he is sunshine, it means sunshine is his impersonal representation or his impersonal feature. Brahman feature, sunshine, moonshine, taste of water. Pranava sarva vedeshu, the Om, which is there in every Vedic mantra, that also is impersonal representation of Krishna. Therefore Prabhupada says, Om is the impersonal sound of the absolute truth. Hare Krishna is the personal sound. So when we chant Hare Krishna, sometimes people ask, why you chant Hare Krishna? Why don't you chant Om? Because Om is the impersonal representation and Hare Krishna is the personality of Godhead himself in the form of this Hare Krishna sound. That's why we have to hear. Hearing is important because Hare Krishna sound is Krishna. If you don't hear, you are not properly touching, contacting the Supreme Lord Krishna. So Om is also impersonal sound of Krishna. Impersonal sound. So this sex life meant for begetting good children is a representation of Krishna, is the impersonal aspect of Krishna. So such sex life is actually righteous. It's according to religious principles. It is necessary. Now, in the 22nd chapter of the 3rd canto, it is explained about Kardama Rishi, Kardama Muni. Kardama also was a Prajapati. He married Devahuti, the daughter of Swayambhuva Manu. And Kardama, it is described here, Kardama Muni desired to beget a child who would be a ray of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kardama Muni wanted to have a son. But what kind of son? This is extraordinary. Very, very, very unusual. What is that? He wanted to beget a child who would be a ray of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's said here by Srila Prabhupada, one should beget a child who can perform the duties of Vishnu. Otherwise, there is no need to produce children. There are two kinds of children born of good fathers. Two kinds of children. What are the two kinds of children? One is educated in Krishna consciousness so that he can be delivered from the clutches of Maya in that very life. At least, people should beget children who can be trained in Krishna consciousness so that they become delivered from Maya. They get out of this material existence. They go back to Godhead. And the other kind of good child is a ray of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why is the other kind of child called a ray of the Supreme Lord? Because this kind of child or son teaches the world the ultimate goal of life. Teaches the world. Not only he will deliver himself, he will deliver others also. How does he deliver others? He teaches the world about the ultimate goal of life, to become Krishna conscious, to become a devotee. So, just as Kardama desired to have a son who would be a ray of Vishnu, and who was that son? Lord Kapila. He came to teach the world about the ultimate goal of life. Similarly, Prabhupada says, in the same order as Kardama Muni, about 100 years ago, when Prabhupada is writing this purport, the 70s is writing, about 1970, in 1870, about 100 years ago, Thakur Bhaktivinoda also wanted to beget a child who could preach the philosophy and teachings of Lord Chaitanya to the fullest extent. Thakur Bhaktivinoda also wanted such a son, a ray of Vishnu. By his prayers to the Lord, he had as his child Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, who at the present moment is preaching the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya throughout the entire world through his bona fide disciples. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is that ray of Vishnu, like Lord Kapila was a ray of Vishnu as the son of Kardama. So this is the exalted purpose of engaging in sex life to beget a son. You see how very exalted it is. It is completely pure devotional service. 100% pure devotional service. This conception materialists don't have. Neophytes in practice of dharma do not understand this. That even pure devotees engage in sex life. Thakur Bhaktivinoda, Acharya. He is teaching ideal. Acharya means who teaches by example. So he is teaching by his example how to engage in sex life to beget a ray of Vishnu. You see? So don't think Diti approaching her husband is all nonsense. Don't think like that. She is approaching her husband for a son. And it is his prime duty to satisfy her, to fulfill her desire. Because he is also a Prajapati. And Prajapati means he should beget good offspring. So two kinds of good children can be begotten by somebody who is following the principles. Either beget a son who can be trained in Krishna consciousness to deliver himself, the child himself becomes freed from the clutches of Maya. Or, better still, for somebody exceptionally capable, pure devotee, can beget a son as a ray of Vishnu, who can teach the whole world the ultimate goal of life. So Thakur Bhaktivinoda prayed that for this mission that he established, he said, to carry forward this mission, I require a son. I want to have a son who will actually preach Krishna consciousness all over the world. So such a son was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. So I'll stop here. Tantarat Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.